Welcome back, guys. Equity Podcast, Berek here. We're talking the three core principles for nutrition, three core nutrition principles. And this is what we want to base our nutrition off of. Like, this is the foundation. This is where we want to start. And, we want to keep it simple. And this is how we keep it simple. We can get a little more nuanced once we focus on these three. So the first one is real food first. You hear this all the time, especially in our circle. Um, we talk about Michael Pollan a lot. Eat real whole food, not too much, mostly plants, right? It's in there, right? In CrossFit's definition of nutrition, eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Like, all the things that we do, that is the base. Eat real whole food. What in the world is real whole food? If the ingredient is the thing, it's a whole food. Potato, potato. Tomato, tomato, right? The thing is the thing. The more real whole food that we eat, the more micronutrients we're going to be getting, the more balance that we're going to have in our diet. We want to have real whole food. Real whole food also tends to be more filling, right? It's going to fill your stomach up, right? You're going to, think about eating an omelet and some potatoes for breakfast versus a donut, right? It might be the same calorically, but how full are you going to feel from the donut, and how full are you going to feel from that omelet and potatoes? It's like completely different. It's not even close. So that's the first one, real whole food, number one. The second one, I think this is a little bit more subtle, and I think people know it, but they kind of forget about it. And that is to balance our macronutrients. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're pairing all three macronutrients every time we're eating. Protein, that's the most important. That's what you want to start with. Make sure every time you eat, there's a protein in it. Carbohydrate and a fat. We want all three of those, right? Protein, you got your lean protein, some kind of lean meat. Vegetarians, there's some different options that we can talk about as well. We want to make sure that we have some kind of protein with every single meal that we have. And we have carbohydrates. You're thinking of your vegetables, your fruits, your starches, your non-starches. Like, eat your carbohydrates. And then finally you have fats. I kind of split up fats into two different areas. The first one is like eating fats, so nuts, seeds, avocado, that type of thing. And then you have like your cooking fats, so olive oil, avocado oil, that type of thing. So coconut oil. When we cook with those fats, we don't really need to eat any additional fat generally. All right, we don't need to have nuts on top of that. Just kind of like one or the other. So if you're having a salad, maybe you can throw some nuts in it or whatnot. Maybe if you have an oatmeal, throw something in there. So those are fats. So what we want to do every time we eat, we want to have all three. We want to group those three macronutrients together: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. All three should be in every single meal. So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if we're doing any snacks as well. So if we're doing a snack, at like 2 p.m., we want to make sure that we're hitting all three of those instead of just getting some pretzels, which is just processed and just carbohydrates. You're not getting a lot of fat in there. You're not getting a lot of protein in there. So we want to make sure to get all three. And like I said, there is nuance to some of these, but every meal, try and get that in. Like, for example, one of the nuance would be like post-workout. Generally, post-workout, One, that's going to be performance based. Like if you're trying to lose weight, you probably don't need something post workout. But let's say like we are doing that, we don't want to get fat post workout. Kind of slows the absorption down of the protein and carbohydrates, which we don't want post workout. But that's again a little bit more nuanced than we need to get into right now. But I did anyway. The the last one, so balance. The last one, and it kind of touches, is part of that, the first one. It's limiting our processed food and sugar. Like we want to limit those. When we talked about that donut example, there's a processed food. Um, it, the reason that processed food is cheaper is because it has a shelf life. It can last longer. And when something has a shelf life, it generally has to have things taken out of it. It needs to take all the nutrients out of it. Those type of nutrients go bad. They spoil. So they got to take that stuff out and put other stuff in, and those preservatives are generally not great. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're limiting those. Same thing with sugar. It's going to affect us. It's very calorically dense, and it does all the bad things, right? We want to limit those. Everybody knows that they should be limiting both of these things, but we just don't do it. Limiting those are going to help us drop weight. It's going to help us better regulate our insulin. It's going to help us sleep at night. It's going to help us feel full. It's going to do all those things. Like I said, this is our core. This is our foundation where we want to start. We want to make sure that we're eating real whole food. We want to make sure that we're eating balanced meals that have all 3 macronutrients in it. And then we want to limit our processed and sugar intake as much as we can. Hey, if you're at a birthday party, have some cake. There's nothing wrong with that, but we want to limit it. Once, if you're ready, if you need some help, like a lot of people know this. Hey, I know I need to do this stuff. It's the accountability side. That's where we can come in and help. If you need some help, reach out to us. We can get that accountability, kind of start talking about some of the nuance. Hey, how do I do this if I'm a vegetarian? How do I do this? And hey, I want to perform better. Like, how do I do that? That's what we're here to do. That is what we do here. If you think these core principles would help somebody else that you know, send them the video. If you think it would help somebody else, shoot us a like. What are some things that you struggle with your nutrition? Just comment below and let us know. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys for taking some time to listen. I truly appreciate it. Thank you. Invest in yourself. Cheers.